goodness. Oh, this is something I'm just super excited about to introduce today. Welcome to Nubian Queen Talk Show. I am your host, Queen Yolanda Mitchell. We have a beautiful guest that we are presenting to you today. Listen, I'm going to read her bio to you all. I need you all to be at a place where you could be sitting down, relaxing, because this is some information that you all are going to want to need. Okay, so here it is, Lady J's bio. Lady J is the definition of resilience on repeat. She has mastered the ability to bounce back repeatedly from multiple traumas and hardships in life and business, which earned her the title, the Bounce Back Queen. From different forms of abuse to homelessness to addiction and a near fatal ruptured brain aneurysm, among other setbacks, she has let nothing stop her from winning in life and business. As an award-winning community leader, speaker, rising multimedia mogul, bounce backologist, author, mentor, and serial entrepreneur, she has been equipped with a unique set of tools to encourage, to conquer the impossible, to she has been featured on numerous media platforms that includes, but are not limited to, WTHR, Channel 13 News, RTV 6, Radio Next, 102.3 FM, Formidable Women Magazine, and more. She is the founder, president, CEO of E.G.O Entertainment Network, Life Support Community, LLC. Bounce Backology over 63 countries and she has the opportunity to feature and overcome some of the nation's largest events and celebrities that includes but are not limited to Cheryl Underwood, Marvin Sapp, Michael Coyer, the Oscars, Claudia Jordan, Brian White, Patty Spilter, the Stellar Awards, and many more. Over the past 12 years, she has dedicated her life to supporting, serving, mentoring, and empowering others personally and professionally throughout her life and numerous in programs, gifts, talents, and platforms that she uses. She will continue to work and ensure all that are assigned to her learn fundamentals of how to bounce back and win. Amen. Thank you all for listening. This is something that I would love to introduce to you all, somebody that can show you all how to bounce back from trauma, bounce back from things that's happening in your life, bounce back from things that are occurring to try to knock you down, but you have the ability, the win, the resilience to get back up again. The resilient woman today is here to tell you more about how to bounce back. So I'm going to present to you Lady J. Hey, how are you, Lady J? Thank you for coming in on Nubian Queen Talk Show. Super excited to have you on today. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm well. Thank you. And thank you for having me.
I absolutely love it. I told you I was going to read your whole bio.
Yeah.
Whenever I do my interviews, I just love for people to know more about the person that has been interviewed. And so today, can you give us some more information about what we know, that with all the trauma, all the abuse and everything that you went through when you came up with Bounce Back? What are some of the things that you had to do to be the Bounce Back Queen?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I had to be honest with myself and where I was, what I was feeling, and what it was tied to. So admitting you have an issue or a problem is the first thing.
Come on.
You know, that put me in a position to be able to address it and then to be able to see myself, I'll say, flipped inside out. And then realizing that it did not reflect that which God says I am. So that then, put me on a path to having to not just forgive myself, but forgive others, who were tied to that specific experience and or mindset and outlook I had about myself. So that's the first thing that I had to do.
Come on. And then think about it. When you said homeless, when we talk about homeless and addiction, Right. So that's like a combination of things. Can you give us some details about being homeless? Like because we don't know. We've never been homeless before. Some of us haven't. But
Mhm.
when you go into details and say these are some of the things that you encounter and that you experience from being homeless, but these are ways you can come up, because when I look at you, I don't see any of that. I don't see the thing talking about abuse, addiction, homelessness, none of that. We talk about a brain aneurysm,
Yes.
you know, so many things. But give us some more insight about with the time that you found yourself in a place of being homeless, and tell me, how does that feel?
So the very first time that I was homeless, I was 15 years old.
Oh,
So I was put out of out of my home at 15. I
mm,
was abandoned by my mother, and my father left around 8. And my mother decided to, drop me off the Children's Bureau here in Indianapolis, Indiana, leave me there. So a couple days later, she came back to get me and told me I couldn't stay there anymore. And yeah, I was homeless. So, just walking the streets, and then stayed at my boyfriend's house at the time with his mom. And then one of my cousins found me. She was 21 at the time, and she had just had a baby. So I had to get a job, not because for most kids, it's a luxury. For me, it was a necessity. So I had to take care of myself.
right.
And then I was homeless several times with my children. So as
Mm,
an adult, after divorce and, making bad decisions, repeating cycles, domestic violence, and things of that sort. So, yes,
right.
sleeping from place to place, sleeping in my car, sleeping in hotels, and at one point, sharing my body just to have a place for us to sleep. So,
And you know what? If truth be told, a lot of us have done some things where we did things, with our bodies to have somewhere to lay our heads, or we did things what we say to get our bills paid.
right.
People they don't out there to let people know our first encounter and how helpful you were. And even though I didn't come to you in the proper way, but you still handled me with grace.
Yes,
You
yes, absolutely. Have to.
and you talk to me, so since we're saying all of that, did you ever during your time, did you ever experience people not wanting to help or not helping you because you were in this position, or did you even receive any help during the time that you was dealing with abuse and not having anywhere stable to lay your head? Did you encounter anybody that mistreated you, and what were some of the things that happened?
Oh yeah, all the time. Uh, so people have a way of forgetting
Right.
where they come from, and forgetting, that you weren't always where you
Always.
are now,
Right.
and forgetting that you are one paycheck away, one bad decision away, one, saying, one doctor's appointment away from
Woo!
everything being taken. And so you know, a lot of times I've had people try to throw up in my face some of the things that I've done, some of the mistakes that I've made, some of the things that happened to me, and none of that bothers me. I have had the opportunity to reach a level of liberty that most people would never in their entire lives. There's nothing that anybody can say about me to somebody else or put out there and post that I haven't already said myself, or I'm not on my way to saying. So that's a level of freedom that it just makes me untouchable,
Right.
because we forget that God's grace covers us, and for some, He covers us a little more than others. And for those like me, we are called to use those things though as tools to help other people. So, with that being said, I encountered a lot of people, but I also encountered people that He handpicked to be a part of my life and journey. He filled voids. He put people in certain places and spaces to help me to continue to grow, to continue to learn. And even when I wasn't teachable and coachable, even when I didn't want to be kept, He did it
Woo!
anyway.
Anyway.
So anyway, yes. And so had just a handful of people that reached out to teach me certain things that I did not know, to help me along the way. And as long as I was willing to help myself, they were willing to go above and beyond. And that is what I'll say has had a huge impact on my life and who I am and what I am today. I've always been a lover. I've always been someone that has been a nurturer and just wanting to help people. It's just innate in me, and my grandmother, watching her and all that she did and the seeds that she planted and her teaching me about God allowed me to, I can't even describe it, because most people that have gone through the things that I've gone through, they become bitter and angry, and mean, and it's just not in me. Now I can be, if you push me to the limit, like us, like all of us, but it's not naturally who I am. Right. So I am meant to be used. I tell people I'm meant to be used, but I'm not meant to be misused. And so you will not misuse me or mistreat me or walk all over me. But I am the one that goes above and beyond, because I want people to experience not just love, but I want them to experience God's love. Sometimes the only encounter that people will have with God is when they meet me, when they speak to me. I want them to hear him. So that is what I do. But I'm also one of those individuals, kind of like Jesus, and the lessons that God teaches us through how he handles us sometimes. So I am very stern and firm in the things that I say. I'm not a coddler, and I'm not an enabler. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, and it's not going to come with sugar on top and a cherry all the time, most of the time, matter of fact. But because I had people in my corner like that, and I needed that because of all of the hell that I had gone through and endured. I didn't have anybody to help me. Nobody ever got me counseling. Nobody asked me if I was okay emotionally, mentally. I was just meant to sweep everything under the rug and, and move on. And so, and that's a lot for a child when you're experiencing trauma after trauma after trauma, after abuse after abuse after abandonment, like over and over. And then it continues into your adulthood. And so that should kill or break anybody. Right. So I tell people all the time that I was not keeping me. It wasn't me being strong. It was all God. My strength comes from him. So I definitely encountered a lot of people, and when I decided to go ahead and be obedient and release my story, because this is how this all got started. In 2010, I had just gotten to the point where I was like, okay, God, I'm going to give this healing thing 100%. You know how you work through some things, you relapse on some things, but you're making progress on other stuff. You take 2 steps forward, you get knocked back 10 steps. So I'm like, okay, listen. So he had me write my story, and it's too much to write. Still, it would be a whole Bible, but he gave me the meat that he wanted me to write, and I wrote two books of the 3-part series in 2 weeks. Come on. And I didn't realize how therapeutic it was. Wow. And in releasing it, he even had me share things I had never uttered to anyone, that I never told anyone. They knew something happened because of the state that I was in when I arrived, when I was kidnapped and raped and held against my will. My clothes were tore up. I was crying. I wouldn't speak. And they knew something happened to me, but I would never say anything. So he even had me tell all of that. And I'm like, oh my God, And so that was in 2010. And he said, now release it. And I was like, absolutely not. I was like, Jesus, you lost your mind now. So it took me 5 years. I did not release it until 2015. That's how long it took me. I fought and fought and fought. And I realized he started to remind me that I've been the woman with the issue of blood. I've been Moses. I've been Job. I've been Lazarus. And, he was like, this is a Moses situation. You don't have a choice. You've been called. There's nobody else for the job. You're going to do it, period. So you can either go kicking and screaming, or you can do it the easy way. So, and I'm so glad that I did. But the scary thing was when I started to see the impact that it had on people, especially young people, those who are the same age range that I was when I was going through other stuff. It was overwhelming because it's one thing to know that you're anointed to do something and be called to something that is great, and it's another thing to see it and how powerful it is, and so that can be scary sometimes.
Wow. And what's the name of this book?
Yeah. So the book series is Life Support, but I literally last month just had it taken down because I didn't release part 3 because God said that it is time for me to revamp it, write the final portion, and I'm going to release the name of it actually at the end of this week, and it's going to be completely finished, and that's where Bounce Backology came in. And so I have become, a lot of people say, I'm the bounce back queen. I have become a master at bouncing back. I don't know anybody, I haven't met anybody that has a similar story to mine, except for maybe 2 other people. Some people, you go through trauma or hardship, whether it be drug addiction or alcoholism or, near-death experience. But I don't know anybody that has had severe trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma after hardship after hardship after hardship after, just like it's so, I don't know, far out there that you're like, that did not happen to just one person.
Right, to one person.
Yes. Wow. Yeah.
Amazing. Because I was just about to say, like, we're talking about rape, kidnap, abuse, addiction, homeless,
narcotics and sex addiction and homelessness and suicide attempt and just it goes on and on and on.
It does. And then the brain aneurysm. Can you give us some insight about the brain aneurysm? I'm just trying to get this out so we can get started with the things that you really are doing.
Yeah. So I haven't shared the entire story yet. It is still really, I am going to share some of it, but it is still really it's a sensitive subject for me, but it's not a subject that I know that I need to talk about because my children were greatly affected, by it. And my younger 2 were actually there when it happened to me. And so one of my children, my youngest daughter, it had the greatest impact on her. And the aftermath of it, you feel kind of guilty, and bad because you put your kids in this space to where they're in constant worry, and just want to make sure that their mom is okay. And so, when I had the brain aneurysm, I immediately knew that this was not my average, headache from a high blood pressure. It was 1,000 times worse. And I knew that something was going wrong. My body started shutting down. And so I felt like I was dying, and I was dying. So, when the doctors and social workers come in and ask for your advance directives and where you want to be buried and things of that sort, they're asking the person that is, responsible for you and making the decisions for you. And you can't speak, you can't see, but you can hear still. Right. And you hear the doctor come into the room, and you already have, they're trying to keep you awake so you don't slip into a coma because you're already bleeding out in the brain, and you hear the doctor come in and say, "I'm sorry, but Miss Murrell has just suffered a ruptured brain aneurysm." And then you hear the room go silent and everybody's heart stops, and at that very moment, you realize, like, this is the end. And it's very weird, but at that moment, I was not scared to die. I just accepted that I was going to die. But what I was very worried about was that I would not be able to say goodbye to my children. Wow. And so I was hoping that someone would come into the room with my children to allow them to say goodbye, because I know what it's like not to get to say goodbye to somebody like a parent, My grandfather was the only father figure that I knew, and I wasn't able to say goodbye, and that crushed me, and I was not okay for a very long time. And my
Right.
children have been my everything. They've been with me. I've been a single parent for I don't know how long. So I am their world. They are my world.
Right.
So knowing that I wouldn't be able to say goodbye was the thing that I wasn't going to be okay with. So, and then hearing them ask for options and they're saying, okay, there's 100% chance she's going to pass if we do absolutely nothing. But the chances of her living, even if we do this brain surgery, is not very high. So because 65% of people die within the first 48 hours after it's ruptured, and even more so even after, within 10 days after having the surgery. So so that was really, it was surreal, and I'm still, I guess, in disbelief every day that I wake up. Every day that I walk around, I still have this aneurysm in my head. They just tied it off, basically, coiled it off. Okay. And I'm still have to be mindful of the things that I do, how much I'm doing, what I'm doing. I have to be mindful of my disabilities and my limits now. Some of them are seen, some of them are not. And knowing that, I feel like I have this ticking time bomb on my head. I try not to think about it, but I can't not think about it. So yeah, but knowing that I am an individual who has already been at death's door several times.
Come on.
And God told me then, I said, no, not now. And so I know I still have a lot of work to do. So I know that I will not leave this place until he has gotten everything out of me that he placed in me. So that I'm not worried about. I understand that. I know that. And as long as I stay in his will, which is the safest place to be, then I won't make the decision to leave earlier than what I should.
Come on. And whenever it's your time, it's your time. You are a prime example. You are a prime example of if it's not your time, you're not going to go. I mean, look at you. I mean, you're here. I ask you questions. You're able to respond. You have, I mean, I don't know. I don't see anything missing. But like you said, some people see and some people don't, things like that. I know when you first started this interview, you came across here and they seen you. No one could see any disabilities. No one can see anything that you have lacking or missing. When I had a conversation with you, I did not hear any disabilities. I didn't hear anything dealing with or anything that's like she got something missing. I was just blown away with your thoughts. I'm telling you, God has kept your mind. He has kept your and he has kept when you said in the beginning that God is nobody but God, absolutely. Because there's no way. And then how can you remember? Did you have to go back through some phases of remembering after the brain aneurysm? You got home. Were there some things you had to relearn, or did it just come back to you? What about walking and things like that?
Oh yeah. So one of the disabilities right now is why I have these glasses on. So my eyes were damaged. So I'm very sensitive to light. So there are some things that you can see, but you don't know that it's a disability if you didn't know me beforehand. And and some things you may not see until later in the day, after I've been up for a while. And short-term memory. So my short-term memory, the doctors say it's not going to be restored 100%. The damage has been done. So I could have this conversation with you and somebody will ask me, well, what did she ask you? I wouldn't be able to tell them 90% of the stuff that you asked. But even in that, I'm learning how to, when I speak, I knew that my speaking is different now than it was before. Before it just like flowed from me and so, passionate, and I'm just asking God to, restore that, because I noticed that part of the brain that was injured was the part that controls my emotions. So sometimes I can come across as apathetic, but I'm really not apathetic, so it's like I can't feel. And then there are other times when I am over emotional, so where I'm feeling too much. But So yes, I could not speak, I could not walk, I could not see. It's a lot of things that I could not do. Remember adding writing, and then it caused a stroke, of course, on my right side. So I had to learn how to do everything all over again. And I was in rehab for 19 months. Speech, cognitive therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, mental health therapy, all of it.
Wow.
So yes.
But then we think about it, all the stuff that you have been doing, like the different platforms that you have been on. And we're talking about WTHR, we're talking about Channel 13 News, RTV6, Radio Next, 102.3 FM, Women's Magazine. Come on now, listen. And you are the founder, president and CEO of E.G.O Entertainment Network, Life Support Company LLC. Can you give us some more information about your organization, your company, what God have you doing?
Yeah, so with E.G.O Entertainment, so a lot of people know me under that brand, but those who knew me beforehand, they know I'm a really big in the community, and everything that I do has to help other people in some shape, form, or fashion. I don't care, even if it's through my business, it has to help people. Just like you mentioned, well, you called me, we were talking, and it went into a whole session, and because when I feel led to help somebody, I'm just going to do it. And
Wow.
and that's who I am. So with E.G.O Entertainment, when God, it's funny the way this came about, because I was not interested in media. Okay. Right. I am, my heart and my passion, I know that my purpose is to help other people overcome the challenges of life. And because those things, when your mindset and your emotional and your spiritual state are not stable, it affects every other area of your life. It affects your ability to make sound decisions. It affects your ability to become and remain stable, and all that you do. So mentoring, young people and women and even families, that has been my passion. The way God gave it to me, it's kind of an out of the box type program where it's not just, encouraging. It's really getting down to the nitty gritty, to the root of the issue, because if we deal with the root, then all of the other symptoms will subside. So doing that, and then having an incentive for them to keep pushing, to keep going, no matter how hard it is. Like the way God gave it to me, and it being interactive, it had touched people in a way, or helped people in a way that I couldn't even imagine. So to me, telling my story, releasing it, and it just spreading like wildfire, started a thing where people were calling me, asking me to do interviews on radio, on TV, on, and then that turned into them, knowing what I was doing with the homeless and the young people and families, and mentoring, and it's really not mentoring. It's kind of a combination of like mentoring, counseling, and therapy in a way.
Yeah.
But there's a spiritual aspect. So it's like a holistic, program. And so then they were like, well, you should have your own radio show. Because you can help more people across the world at one time doing what you do. And I'm like, okay. And then that turned into someone saying, hey, you should have your own platform. You can reach more people. And so, then a radio show turned into a radio station. And then disconnecting from that individual and revamping things. And then that turned into the whole multimedia company. So from the radio station, then added the digital magazine, then the television network, and the events and coordination and and promos and advertising and all stuff, and now management. And it just kind of, God had a whole nother plan. So, but it all encompasses and works together. So E.G.O Entertainment is the platform that pushes and promotes and supports people with, messages and gifts and talents and businesses. And then over here, I can keep doing what I'm doing and serving others. And even with E.G.O Entertainment Network, of course, I'm still serving others, partnering with people, becoming community partners, sponsoring and all of that good stuff. So it all really encompasses who I am, and it all works together. So there's a method to the madness. Bounce Backology is the company now that the mentoring and stuff is under, and it is also a clothing brand because people say when you look good, you feel good. But I believe that if for some people, it's hard for them to speak into themselves, and make it a habit to continue to speaking into themselves so that they can start believing what it is that they're speaking and can start manifesting. So Bounce Backology, the line has things that you can wear. So when you wear it, it's on you, it's in you, everybody can see it, all the time. So that's another aspect of just going alongside or being married to that program. And then Life Support Company LLC is what my books are under and what my speaking, me as a speaker, is under. And No Limits Ministry is the ministry that serves homeless and families in need.
Aneurysm what? Aneurysm where?
Yeah. And what people don't understand too, that it's still a struggle. So I've been hospitalized 3 more times, once earlier this year, last year. So it's an ongoing thing. That's why I say I have to be very mindful of what I'm doing, how much I'm doing, And I will say this too. I would not be where I am without the people that God has placed in my life and surrounding me, even in business. Yes. It is a blessing when you are someone who grew up without people that care, when you are someone that grew up without people who truly loved you and pour into you and care about your well-being, you cherish relationships, you cherish people. And so I'm surrounded by people that will say, hey, Lady J, you've been up too long, you're doing too much. Get off the red carpet, go change your shoes. You know what I'm saying? Like they are on me. Do you hear me? On me. So, and my children, now they think that they're my parents now. So, Mama, what you doing? You need to go lay down, So, and so, but I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But I tell people all the time that goes to show you just how important it is to build relationships. When you take care of God's people will take care of you when you are in that space. And that's something that I had to learn how to do because I am a very prideful person. I'll be the first to say it. I don't like asking for help. I don't feel like, don't want people to feel like I'm a burden and things of that sort. But when it's God, it's his best, and they are there for a reason. And so I just thank God for their obedience. So shout out to everybody that's a part of my team, especially for under Entertainment Network, because they follow me wherever I go, and I'm all about them. I support them in everything that they do, and everybody has their own stuff going on, brands and things of that sort. And so the whole preface for E.G.O Entertainment Network is we support you as you support us. So we work together so that we can grow together.
And listen, and part of E.G.O Network, can you tell us about some of the people? Because we know you got Ron Godfrey, the ATL, baddest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, don't tell him I said that, but I know you probably look at the video and be like, girl.
So some of our clients, our clients, so the E.G.O management division is the newest division of E.G.O. And I was like, okay, yeah, listen, don't have me add nothing else, because I did not want to add that division. But I've had one of my clients, Jacob Alexander, shout out to Jacob. He had been asking me since 2017, like, Lady J, please, I need a manager. I think you would be a great manager. I think you'd be this. You have so many connections. You know about this, you know about that. And I'm just like, And so I was like, oh God, I'm already doing so much. And I'm like, I'm being really good at time management and making sure I'm not overdoing it or doing too much. And so, I prayed about it, and God said yes. And I'll be doggone. The minute that I put it out there, in 2 weeks, I had filled 4 of the 7 spots. I was like, what? Yeah. So I was like, okay. And I still have some other people that I'm waiting on, that I'm researching to see if they, they want to come on board. But, so I was like, I have to have a limit right now, because I'm doing a lot, and I don't really have time to add more people to the team right now and train in that area and all that. So, but yeah, my team for, let's say, the magazine. So we have our photographer, Jay Golden of Golden Image Photography. We have Dr. Leslie Hodge. She writes our health articles. We have Renata Dalton, who is a therapist, mental health therapist. She writes our wellness section. We also have Lexi Jones. She writes our business section. We have Mike Hanna of Me Focus Media. He's our cover designer. We have Leo Rochelle. She does our beauty and fashion. And Minister Tanya Northcross, she also happens to be my godmother, and she writes our inspirational section of the magazine. And for JQLM Radio, we have our gospel division director, which is Kimberly Kent, and also our R&B and hip hop director, Destry Carter, aka Trosh. Athena Salisbury is my admin person, and then we have Leo Rochelle and Michelle, who heads up. They play my role when I'm unavailable when it comes to our events. So when we're hosting and coordinating meet and greets, red carpets, media coverage, all that good stuff, we're traveling here, there, everywhere. And I have team members all over Florida, Chicago, Indianapolis, Atlanta, Alabama. So for our events, so wherever we travel, we have people. We have people in those places. And so, yeah, I've been blessed to build relationships with people, and shout out to, I have to say, shout out to Miss Raishi Powell and my friend Jermaine. She's one of my business partners. And when it comes to business, she has definitely had my back 100%. We had just opened a building before I had the brain aneurysm. We put so much work and money into it. And when I had the aneurysm, I wasn't there to run it, so they had to transfer it. And when I say she has been nothing but helpful and supportive and helping me get back on my feet, and me finishing my 3rd and final degree, Master's of Psychology. I do have a degree in business management and psychology. So she has been instrumental in making sure that I have the tools I need to be successful because of some of my disability. So sitting at a laptop for hours or reading a lot is not something that I can do. So making sure I have the software to help me and things of that sort. I have to shout her out. I know she doesn't like that, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
That's right. That's right.
Because I have to give honor where honor is due.
Absolutely.
And for all of the people, my clients, my business bangers. So business bangers is also a division of Life Support Company. So that's where the business development, business consulting and coaching and business services come in. All my clients, whether I am doing websites, customizing their documents, contracts, consulting, teaching, doing business banker help shops, whatever the case may be, filing their paperwork or doing reports. These people waited 2 years, would not let anybody else touch their stuff. Okay. Some of them have already paid for services, and it's like, we don't care. We're waiting on Lady J to come back. Like, that is nothing but, who does that? I don't know anybody who does that, and that is nothing but God. And so in the midst of everything that I have endured and continue to endure, God is still faithful. He is still even when I'm not faithful. Because let me tell you, please understand that my level of confidence and the level of depression that I was going through throughout this whole process was beyond me. And I would be lying if I didn't say I wasn't angry with God.
Tell the truth.
Not because I felt like I didn't deserve, the brain aneurysm. So many people was telling me to sit down. You're doing too much. You know what I'm saying? Say no sometimes. And I was not listening. So I understand. But at the same time, I'm like, Jesus, I am too young for this. What are you doing? So yeah, it has definitely been a blessing. There's some lessons in there. I've had no choice but to sit down and listen and be still and learn how to receive that which I give, because I am not good at all at receiving, but I am awesome at giving.
I
But
know. I know.
but when he puts you in a position where you're not able to give in the way that you are used to giving, that's
Right.
a humbling experience, and you get frustrated, you know. So I do thank God for that. I thank God for all of them, all of my clients, the E.G.O Entertainment clients, the Business Manager clients, the connections, the new relationships that I've been afforded, with community partners and other media people, say like yourself and other people. It's been I don't know. I will say I'm blessed. That's all I can say is I am blessed, and he continues to leave me speechless.
I'm telling you, as I was sitting here reading your bio, it also says that um, you has had the opportunity to feature and cover some of the nation's largest events and
Mhm.
celebrities that includes, but are not limited to, Cheryl Underwood, Marvin Sapp. You got to tell us about these ones that you've been able to, people don't get this opportunity that often. How does that feel to you that you've had these opportunities?
Man, it's beyond me. It is beyond me. I'm like, you know, I did. I'm a firm believer in um, when you want something and you want it bad enough, or you have a vision, God's giving you a vision. If you do the work, everything it'll come to pass, and it doesn't matter when He says it's gonna come to pass anyway. But um, when you put in a lot of work and you do it from the heart and not to gain something in return, God
Absolutely.
blesses. God blesses that. So for years, I did a lot of things for free, and
Woo!
I just wanted to support and promote people because I want to see people win.
Yeah,
I know what it's like to have absolutely nothing. I know what it's like to lose everything, and I also know what it's like to have more than enough.
come on.
So, um, and my goal in life, or my purpose in life, or my drive, has never been to be famous or to be a millionaire. It's always been to I want to fulfill my purpose and I want to help other people.
Wow.
But because of that and who I am and what I do, that fame and all the other kind of stuff comes along with it. The Bible says that seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and all those things will be added unto you. So I I don't do it for that, but that is part of my earthly reward, which really doesn't compare to the things that He has waiting, on the other side. So when I tell people all the time, they keep talking about chasing the bag, and I'm like, you always gonna be chasing the bag. If you chase purpose and walk in purpose, then the bag will chase you, you know? So so the bag will chase you. You're doing it backwards, so so and I realized that the thing that is priceless are people. Your relationships with people are priceless. There are some people that hold certain wisdom and knowledge that you won't be able to get anywhere, but it will take you wherever you want to go. And I'd rather have that than to have the dollar sign, because that will bring me everything that I need to sustain myself, my children, and my platforms and companies, so that I can continue to help sustain and grow other people. That is the mindset that I have. I want to be able to have more than enough to help and sustain other people, whether it be the homeless, the people that I mentor, the people that my clients, helping businesses, whatever the case may be. That is just like a full circle. The blessed are blessed to be a blessing, and that's how they stay blessed. Right. So when I have had the opportunity to sit down with people like, for instance, Marvin Sapp, that was my first encounter with him, because I've talked to him more than once, was because of a relationship that I had with somebody.
Right.
Cheryl Underwood, a relationship that I created because my network was an affiliate of her platform.
Right.
People like Brian White, Claudia Jordan, Miss Bernadette Stannis. That was because of a relationship that I had, that I had with someone. Patty Spitler, one of my favorite news anchors, and her people were watching me. They reached out to me, and I was like, "What? You was watching me?" What? Like there are people, when you are just doing your work, God will go before you and before great men. Your name enters rooms, my reputation precedes. So, you have to be careful and mindful about how you treat people and understand who your favor is tied to. I tell people this all the time. Know who your favor is tied to. Don't mess that up, because if you mess that up, you're going to be all the way messed up. So, having the opportunity to do the Oscars, man, that was an experience in itself. The Stellars, and having so many yeses where you can't even make it to everything. That's a blessing in itself. That's a good problem to have, and so I am, and I will say shout out to Mr. Jeffrey Holmes, who is the CEO of the Gospel Choice Music Awards, one of the biggest independent award platforms for gospel artists and those who do things in the community. Creating that relationship has been a blessing, and us being the official media that coordinates and hosts the red carpet and interviews and things of that sort for that amazing weekend is just I would have never thought in a million years, like God gave me the vision that I would be speaking to millions of people, telling my story, the testimony, teaching people how to how to overcome, not cope, but how to overcome, how to truly be liberated from those things, because it's possible. And I'm the living, breathing example that it is possible. I'm the living, breathing example of his love for us. So, and a lot of people will ask me, well, how did you do this? Or how did you do that? And I tell people all the time, 1 is favor, 2 is work. And we forget, we keep using that. We use the scripture all the time, if God be for you, who can be against you? But we forget that if, it says if, it doesn't mean that he is. There are some requirements that you have to meet first. He's a God of order. He's a God of order, and he's not going to be for you. All right. You are out of order and outside of his will. And that's the reality of it. And there are times when I have gotten off track, and that sets us back. And a lot of times we stay stuck where we are longer than we have to be because of our attitude while we're in it.
Wow. I'm telling you, like, I've been cheesing from ear to ear since I've been on this interview with you, but I am just blown away with the head knowledge that you have. I am just in awe about what comes out of your mouth. And I don't believe it. I don't, if you would not have told me all these things that you've been through, I would not believe it. But I know that in order for you to be where you are, you had to go through something. But I don't know.
Absolutely.
Those you
I'm an old soul. People tell me that all the time. You were such an old. You act so old. Well, I was raised with my grandparents, and my grandmother. I can remember as early as the age of 3. There was not a day that went by that I did not see her start her day on her knees and end her day on her knees. And after that, she would come to the dining room table and sit down and read her word. And she would teach me. I would ask her questions. She would explain it to me. And she used to always, and her number one lesson to me was to treat others as you want to be treated. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And I didn't really understand. I understood what she meant, but I didn't understand that I would have to do that even when they did not do unto me as I did unto them. But I understand why now that you still do that, even if they don't, because then you have things like this, and people forget that just like when you are not in your right mind emotionally and mentally, you're not able to remain stable in a home, not keep a job, getting in relationships with people that you shouldn't be. Right. It's the same thing in business. When you do unto people as you would have them do unto you, when you treat people with respect, when you give quality service, when you operate in a level of excellence, God will open doors for you because trust you with those things. When you are called to minister to and to minister to other people, when you are called to lift them up, to encourage them, to teach them how to come up from rock bottom, how to allow themselves to be operated on emotionally and mentally, to be able to address those things, you are responsible, for those people, because you have been assigned to them. And when you are a good steward over that, then he will then again open up doors for you that no other man can open, that money couldn't even open for you.
Woo!
And when you are obedient, because see, a lot of people, you can step on people and pay your way into somewhere, but it won't keep you there.
It won't keep you there.
So if you have that favor, you don't take that for granted.
Right.
You don't mistreat it, because sometimes that's the only thing that will get you there, and that's the only thing that's going to keep you there. So, that's just been my lesson. Those are things that I've had to learn along the way. And I'm not by any means saying that I'm perfect, because believe you me, I'm far from it. But I do my best. Yeah. One thing I don't do is I don't intentionally mistreat people. Right. Or just people be doing some crazy stuff, crazy stuff to get what they want, and I am not a person that can be bought. I don't care how much money you have. My soul, my gift, my talent, my anointing, my business, my ministry, none of it is for sale. Period.
Come on, period. Because God gave it to you, not for you to sell it off.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Powerful. I've been enjoying this. For those of you that are listening, y'all took in this information. Y'all need to be looking her up so that you can connect with this powerful, beautiful, heartfelt, pure-hearted woman of God. Y'all got to connect with her. I'm telling you, you will not regret it, because my experience with her has never been the same. So y'all got to connect with her. Before we go, can you tell us, give us an encouraging word. Tell us, what would you say to the audience that's listening right now? What would you say to them right now, the moment that you're in, and somebody needed some encouraging words, and they came to you and say, I just need somebody to give me pep me up. What would be something that would come to your mind real quick?
So what I would say is, well, first and foremost, before anything, keep God first.
Keep God first.
Even if you're not a believer, whatever it is that you believe in, whoever your higher power is. Now, for me personally, I believe in the one true living God. Right. But if you believe in, I don't care if you're a Buddhist, if you are, a Muslim, if you're whatever your high power is, keep them first. Okay. And no matter what your background is, no matter what you've gone through, no matter what you've experienced or are experiencing, none of that is who you are. It is an experience, but all of it is necessary for where God is trying to take you. Everything's necessary. I tell people all the time that just because it doesn't feel good to you doesn't mean it's not good for you.
Come on.
So again, just because it doesn't feel good to you doesn't mean it's not good for you. And people are like, what? Like, how can you say that? All the stuff that happened to you as a kid? Yeah, it wasn't good, but it was good for me. And if I did not go through that, I would not have the tools and the knowledge and the wisdom to be able to share to help somebody else. Somebody had to go through it. And am I the only one that has gone through that stuff? No. But there's not too many people that are going to be as transparent, as explicit, as open, as helpful, as practical as I am, and the people that are like me, which is why we have so many people suffering, because too many of us are teaching or preaching or mentoring from a place of perfection rather than from a place of transparency. And that's the problem. You cannot help other people pretending, that things are not or were not what they are or were. You have to be open, you have to be mindful, you have to be able to meet people where they are.
Right.
So last but not least, I know we're just coming off of the month of September Suicide Awareness Month. And a lot of people feel really helpless or hopeless, but understand that there is nothing in this life that is, when it comes to turmoil or trouble, that is permanent. It is just a season. And
Right.
again, as I said earlier, some of us remain in spaces and places longer than we have to be because of our attitude while we're in it.
Come on.
Understand that everything that you go through is not for you. It's for somebody else. It's for you to learn lessons, but it's for somebody else. You're going to encounter someone else along your journey that is experiencing the exact same thing that you have. And when you meet them, you are going to be required to share what it is that you've learned so that they too can be on their way to where you are. So change your perspective when you are looking at where you are, the things that you're going through.
Wow. Amazing. Beautiful. Thank you for that. Also, now we know that you're doing magazines, TV. Let me see. You're doing everything. You got a podcast, radio, YouTube. Listen, we gotta be able to connect with you. Where can we go at where we can find how we can connect with you to see all the beautiful things you're doing? Because those interviews I've seen that you do on YouTube, your podcast, how can we on your podcast and your website? I mean, help us out. Give us ways that we can connect with you.
So if you go to my personal website, ladyj.co, ladyj.co, www.ladyj.co, you can connect with me there. You can connect to my social media there. You can actually see all the different companies there. They have buttons that'll take you directly to their sites, and then on those sites you can see what's going on and follow us on social media. I do follow back. And then of course you can go to E.G.O Entertainment Network. So E.G.O entertainmentnet.com. That's E.G.O entertainmentnet.com. If you want to stay updated on everything that's going on as far as shows and TV, magazine, all of that. Subscribe to both sites. It's free. Okay, subscribe to both sites so that way you can stay updated and get all of the updates on what's going on. And yeah, so I would say those are the easiest ways, because if I give you all of the social media handles for all the different pages and all that stuff, we're gonna be here for another 15 minutes. So I won't do that.
Okay. I absolutely love it. I've enjoyed this interview with you. Thank you so much for sharing your life story. Thank you for being transparent. Thank you for opening up. And now we better understand you and the mission, the mandate, the assignment, the call, and the announcements on your life. You've done a wonderful job. Bless my soul today. So I know for those who are listening, those who's watching are being blessed as well. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, woman of God. Blessings to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.